Friends, we've all done things in the name of celebration that we later regret. Maybe it was that extra tequila shot on Cinco de Mayo or that regrettable "Kiss Me, I'm Irish" t-shirt. But humanity has officially outdone itself this time. This year, our collective St. Patrick's Day revelry has tipped the scales, quite literally turning the world green. Yes, you heard that right. The rivers, green, the sky, a disconcerting shade of emerald, your neighbor's cat, don't even ask. It seems our global obsession with dyeing everything green for St. Patrick's Day has backfired spectacularly. Who knew that dumping millions of gallons of dye into our waterways, air, and everything in between could have unforeseen consequences? Experts, or at least the ones who haven't turned a vibrant shade of chartreuse, are baffled. The sheer volume of green dye used this year appears to have triggered some kind of bizarre chain reaction. Initial theories range from the plausible, like unexpected chemical reactions, to the utterly absurd, like the ancient Celtic prophecy of the green tide. Whatever the cause, one thing is clear: we've got a global greenundrum on our hands. And frankly, it's enough to make even the most stoic Irishman turn a different shade of green, with envy at the sheer absurdity of it all. Now, I'm not a scientist. My area of expertise involves yelling about politicians while sitting behind a desk. But even I can see that something is deeply, hilariously wrong here. The sheer volume of green dye used this year has apparently disrupted the very fabric of reality, or at least the color spectrum. Preliminary reports suggest that the dye molecules, in their sheer abundance, have somehow managed to bind to, well, everything. Water molecules, air particles, even light itself, all tinged with an unsettling green hue. It's like someone replaced the Earth's Instagram filter with one giant, inescapable St. Patrick's Day overlay. Some experts are pointing to a little-known phenomenon called the leprechaun limit, a theoretical threshold of green dye concentration beyond which the laws of physics apparently take a very long tea break. Others are blaming it on the shamrock singularity, a point at which the sheer concentration of green is said to warp space-time. Look, I don't know what any of that means, but I do know this. When even the scientists are resorting to explanations that sound like they came from a particularly bad episode of Doctor Who, things are officially bonkers. It all started innocently enough, with the usual St. Patrick's Day shenanigans. A few rivers dyed green, a couple of questionable green beer-induced decisions, the classics. But then things took a turn. March 18th, reports start pouring in of unusual green sightings worldwide. The Great Wall of China, green. The Northern Lights, you guessed it, green. Even the Pope's hat seems to have taken on a distinctly verdant hue. March 19th, the world collectively freaks out. Social media explodes with #greenpocalypse hashtags. Conspiracy theories abound, ranging from alien invasions to elaborate pranks orchestrated by bored deities. March 20th, the world's leading scientists, many of whom are still struggling to explain how they accidentally dyed their lab coats chartreuse, convene for an emergency summit. No concrete answers emerge, but the term greenpocalypse is officially adopted. March 21st. People start acclimating to the new normal, which mostly involves squinting a lot and investing in sunglasses that block out the color green. The stock prices of companies that manufacture green dye skyrocket, while everyone else nervously eyes their vegetable crispers. The world is now a very different place. Gone are the comforting azure skies and cerulean seas. In their place, an endless expanse of green, like living inside a kale smoothie that's gone very, very wrong. The fashion industry is in shambles, as every shade of green is now considered tragically, hilariously on the nose. Interior decorators are having a collective meltdown, and don't even get me started on the poor souls who just bought a bright green car. Even nature seems confused. Flamingos are looking particularly self-conscious, chameleons can't seem to blend in anywhere, and Kermit the Frog has reportedly gone into hiding. It's a green world out there, folks. And frankly, it's starting to feel a little bit like that scene in The Wizard of Oz after Dorothy lands in Oz. Except instead of vibrant colors, it's just endless shades of green. As with any global event, the greenpocalypse has unleashed a tidal wave of political posturing, finger-pointing, and frankly baffling policy proposals. Naturally, the dye industry is in damage control mode, claiming that this is all a big misunderstanding, and that green dye is perfectly safe in moderation. Meanwhile, environmental groups are having a field day, using the situation to highlight the dangers of unchecked consumerism and the need for sustainable alternatives to, well, everything. Politicians, as always, are exploiting the situation for their own gain. Expect to see a lot of green ties and shamrock-shaped campaign buttons in the coming months. And don't be surprised if someone proposes building a giant wall to keep out the green. because apparently, some things never change. The United Nations has convened an emergency session to address the crisis, but so far, the only thing they've agreed on is that the official color of diplomacy should probably be something other than green for the foreseeable future. The psychological ramifications of living in a perpetually green world are just beginning to be understood. Some experts believe that prolonged exposure to such an overwhelming amount of green could lead to sensory overload, lethargy, or even a sudden inexplicable urge to wear nothing but orange. Others speculate that it could trigger a collective case of nature deficit disorder on a global scale, as people struggle to find solace in a world that now resembles one giant overgrown golf course. Therapists are reporting a surge in patients complaining of green fatigue, a condition characterized by irritability, insomnia, and an overwhelming desire to stare at something, anything, that isn't green. And then there's the existential dread, the unsettling realization that we, as a species, have managed to permanently alter the color of our planet through sheer festive excess. It's enough to make you want to reach for a stiff drink, preferably one that isn't green. So, where do we go from here? How do we navigate a world where every day feels like an outtake from a particularly cheesy St. Patrick's Day parade? Honestly, I don't have the answers. I'm a comedian, not a miracle worker. But I do know this. We need to start by acknowledging the absurdity of the situation. We need to laugh at ourselves, at our collective folly, at the sheer cosmic irony of it all. Because if we can't find a way to laugh at this, then we're truly up a certain green-tinged creek without a paddle. Maybe this is a wake-up call, a reminder that our actions have consequences, however unintended or absurd they may seem. Or maybe it's just a really weird cosmic joke. Either way, we're stuck with it. So what can you, the average person who is probably starting to resemble a sentient blade of grass, do about this green mess? Well, for starters, you can think twice before you reach for that can of green dye next St. Patrick's Day. Maybe this year we can find a way to celebrate our Irish heritage without turning the entire planet into a giant shamrock. Maybe we can focus on the things that truly matter: family, friends, and the fact that we haven't yet been overrun by leprechauns demanding we pay rent in four-leaf clovers. This is a call to action, people, a call to think, to laugh, and to maybe, just maybe, learn a valuable lesson about the dangers of unchecked festive enthusiasm. Share your thoughts, your fears, your best green jokes in the comments below. Because if we can't laugh at the end of the world, then what's the point of it all?